like you know me. So, you're all welcome to the class. We're starting now. This is GST 107. That is the original name. The name got changed, I think, 2 semesters ago. That was when they changed it to NOU 107. So for those, like when we did our own now, it was GST 107. But the new name now is NOU 107. And the course title is a study guide for the distance learner. And it's just as the title goes, that is everything you'll be learning in this course material is basically on how to successfully study as a distant learner. You know, the normal system of learning that we're used to is a conventional method. When you go to the lecture hall, you sit under a lecturer who will lecture you, you mingle with your course mates, you go to hostel, you come back, and so on and so forth. But this system of learning is a new one. So there is a need to show you. This course is just like a roadmap or something, just like, um, yes, a roadmap showing you that this school that you are joining, this is how the school operates, or this is how to study as a student joining this kind of university. You know, the university is experimental. Open and distance learning is just a new system of learning that is still undergoing experiment. They are still trying to see improvements, how they can make the system better. That is the kind of school you are. It's school that is why you see maybe in the groups you see different complaints. Or somebody will say, this thing was not so last semester. When did they start this one? When did they start this one? So the school is always open to improvement. It's flexible and also dynamic. You can go through this process this semester, and by next semester you see they've changed the process. They are just trying to see better ways of, it's not easy. If you look at it yourself, you find out that coupling your work, your family, demands with education is not that easy at all. But for it to be easy, you need a roadmap that you can follow. That, okay, how can I survive as an open and distance learner? Or what is open and distance learner? So that's all you'll be doing in this course. So, and the course material is not long, it's not much rather, just 132 pages and divided into 4 study modules. So we have just 4 modules to study in this material. Module 1, just 3 units. Module 2, 5 units. Module 3, 4 units. And then Module 4 is 4 units. We'll be going straight to, but let's quickly scan through the modules. In Module 1, all we'll be doing is introduction to the open and distance learning, which is what we abbreviate to ODL. In case you ask this abbreviation in your exam. In fact, this is not something you should cram for exam. It's what you should know because you are in the system. You are in the open and distance learning system. So ODL is what you should know, even if they wake you up from sleep. What is the meaning of ODL? You should know it. Open and distance learning. That is the meaning of ODL. Now, under this introduction, we'll be talking about history of the open and distance learning system, characteristics of the open and distance learning system, teaching and learning in the open and distance learning system. And then that will move us to Module 2, study skills for the distance learner, listening, speaking, reading, writing, study strategies. So like I mentioned earlier, that this material or this course is basically to tell you how to succeed as an open and distance learner. That is why they made it compulsory for all 100 level students, regardless of your program. Likewise, every direct entry student must take this course because it's important. Whether you enter to 300 level direct entry or 200 level direct entry. So the course is very important for you. So you will learn how to read, how to listen as an ODL student. So henceforth, I may not be saying open and distance learning student. I will just say ODL student. So you should know what that means. How to speak. How you learn speaking as an ODL student, reading as an ODL student, writing as an ODL student, and then study strategies. You have asked questions like, how can I study? And I carry the course material, it's too bulky, I don't understand, I don't even know how to go about it, nothing is entering, all those complaints that you normally give. Let's see how this material can help you solve some of those problems if you follow it diligently. Now, assessment and evaluation mode in open and distance learning. This is where you learn about TMA, exams, and everything. If you watch the orientation of yesterday, or you were present in the live session, you find out that most of the content of the orientation is based on this module 3. They've expounded everything you need to know about assessment in the orientation. So, and then module 4 is learner support services. This was also mentioned in the orientation yesterday. In fact, the orientation used to be a scan of this material. For those of you that attended the orientation, when we start going through this material, you see that it's just a fallback on what was discussed in the orientation. So, without wasting much time, let me ask us, at least you've joined some of the student group, or you've been in the school for maybe 2 weeks or so now. Maybe some of you have attended conventional schools before. Can you, for those of us that are available now, let me ask just one or two people to contribute. What is the difference that you notice, or a kind of challenge? Who is that? Who is on speaker? Or a kind of challenge that you've come across that makes this open university look somehow, or kind of isolated? Or how do you feel coming to a school like this where you hardly meet your lecturer before you graduate? So let me just ask I know you've not spent much time in the school, just 1 week or two for some of you, but at least you've been in the student group. You are kind of listening and observing their conversation. So what can you say? Or I know some of you have attended ND before, Poly, and the rest of them. Can you compare the two? What's your comparison and your contrast? Yes, anybody? I need someone to talk. Are you guys hearing me?
Well,
Okay.
well, since there's no one talking right now, so let's just move on because obviously most of us as like me now, I've done ANT, but I actually dropped. So I've forgotten that's years ago. So I can't really answer that question. Since nobody's talking, I just said I should say something so we can move past this.
All right, all right. Thank you. So, history of open and distance learning. When did this idea of having open university or distance learning, when did it start? And where did it start? By whom did it start? So let's move straight. Introduction. As a student of an open university, it is important for you to have a fair idea of the system you are getting
Please,
involved
one
in.
question.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm so sorry to cut you short. I just joined, so I just want to know what is this about really, so I can, because I'm jotting down. So what is this
Uh,
particular?
this is NOU 107, the study guide for distance learner.
Okay, it's a study guide just for study guide for distance learner.
That is the name of the course. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Continue, please.
All right. So this is because you might not have had the opportunity of studying in an open university before now, and your success in this system is heavily dependent on your understanding of the workings of this system. I've mentioned all this in my own introduction too. Thus, it is important for you to pay close attention to this course, as it would help you to understand the demands of the open and distance learning. In the first unit, you will go through a brief history of the open and distance learning system, both globally and also in Nigeria. So that is the main thing. This is another abbreviation to note, please. ILO means intended learning outcomes. We've done it like in more than 2 materials now. ILO, intended learning outcomes. They used to ask you to see, especially this NOU 107. Please focus on the abbreviations. The exam used to be full of a lot of abbreviations. That's how most students fail it. This is one of the hardest course to to pass in NOU. If you check some people, in fact, I had last I think 2 semesters ago, there was one 400 level student that came to me. He has been writing NOU107 since 100 level, and he wrote it like 6 times. He failed it. He had it. If you check the result, I still have his result. F in NOU107 6 times until that last semester that he met me. I don't know. God just helped us. Now he has graduated this last semester. So, and the thing is, it's an important course. You must pass it. If you don't pass it, you are not going anywhere. By the end of this unit, you will be able to define open and distance learning, identify the various stages of distance education, differentiate between distance learning and open learning, and then comment on the role of technology in distance learning. So let's move straight to the first content we'll be studying. And please, like I've mentioned earlier, pay close attention to abbreviations. If you are jot down those abbreviations, then learn them by heart. Now, the term open and distance learning is made up of 2 different concepts in education, namely distance education and open learning. Now, the thing is, Open University combines the two. When you hear open and distance learning, you know that they are talking about 2 things. For the fact that article "and" is there, it's for conjunction, it's joining 2 ideas together. So open is different on its own. Distance learning is different on its own. But the 2 can also be combined together as one system. That's what we call ODL, open and distance learning. So open and distance learning is made up of 2 different concepts, and one of them is distance education, and the second one is open learning. Now, why distance education has been around for quite a long time, as you would soon discover, open learning is more recent phenomenon, which means distance education has been in space since the time of this man that used to use shorthand. I think Isaac Pittman, that uses shorthand to do some lecturing like that. They broadcast it. They write paper. Is it telecast or something like that? Through emails and the rest of them. They teach people. They send messages to them through broadcast. So all those times, you may be in one country and you'll be receiving lecture from another through articles like newspaper and the rest of them. So that distance learning, for you to be somewhere else and be learning from somewhere else, that one has been in space for a long time. But you see, open learning is just recently that it came into space. And that is why those that have been maintaining distance education before, there are some universities that were only distance learning before. They now combine, when open learning came into space, they combine the 2 together now. Some of them are trying to combine the 2 together now to now have open and distance learning. So what is now the difference between the 2? You have to understand that there has been no consensus definition of the twin term, but for the purpose of this course, we will make do with the definition from Commonwealth of Learning. That's the meaning of code. Commonwealth of Learning, please. COL. Commonwealth of Learning. That's what it means. And this Commonwealth of Learning gave a definition of open and distance learning in 2015. In 2015, Cole defines open and distance learning as a system of teaching and learning characterized by separation of teacher and learner in time and or space, and uses multiple media for delivery. You see this definition? I don't know if I can get TMA of NOU107 in my TMA dump. Let me check if I can get it. There is no year that they will not ask this question in your TMA. This the definition of open and distance learning by what is it called? By Cole. Mostly they used to ask it. You see it in, I don't know, let me check if I can still get, if any of the TMA is here. I want to see the way they normally said that question, but let's not waste time on that while it's loading. Let's continue our reading. So, what is the definition of code for open and distance learning? A system of teaching and learning characterized by 1. Separation of teacher and learner is time and or space. Number 2, and uses multiple media for delivery of instruction. This definition, if you look at it, that is all you are doing in now. Both you and your teachers, you are not seeing each other. You are separated in time. In time means that I may be in London, 2 a.m. My teacher is here in Nigeria. Sorry, London is even the same time with us. Maybe I'm in Canada now, 12, let's say 12 a.m. and then my teacher is in Nigeria at 7 a.m. You understand? And he's teaching me that is 12 a.m. in my place, while he is 7 a.m. in his place. Difference in time. That means we are in different geopolitical zones and different countries. That is the meaning of difference in time. When you are not in the same country with your facilitator, that is difference in time. But difference in space means that we are not in the same hall, in the same room. My teacher might be in maybe in Kaduna, while I'm here in Lagos, or I'm here in Abuja. So you understand? That is the meaning of difference in space in that definition. Difference in space means that we are not in the same hall, in the same school compound like this, that we are not receiving lecture in the physical lecture hall where the teacher and the student can see each other. Why difference in time means we are not in, some of the students might not even be in the same country, which means they are sharing different time zones with their facilitator. That is what it means. I just say I should stress more on that because they used to set question on those two. That what does difference in time means in open and distance learning? They used to ask that question. You see it, meet it in your exam. It means that both the teachers and the student don't share the same time zone. It might be when the student is outside the country or so. So let's leave that. As you would get to know, this definition has tried to bring all the attributes of the open and distance learning to the fore exactly. This definition is somehow perfect for open and distance learning. So what is that definition? Can we all take it together? Please unmute yourself, unmute the mic and talk. Let's take it from now. Cole defines, that is Cole 2015. Are we set? 1, 2, everybody, please unmute yourself or mute your mic, anyone. 1, 2, go. Cole 2015, or framework of learning 2015 defines open
and distance learning as a system of teaching and learning characterized
by
by
separation of
teacher and learner in time
or
and
space,
space and uses multiple media for delivery of instruction.
As simple as that. So thank you. It's as simple as that. So I think you've gotten it now. So let's continue. History of open and distance learning. First of all, now we've achieved one of our aims, which is to know the definition of open and distance learning. We know it now by the Commonwealth definition 2015. So let me see if this one is loaded already. I hope this is actually the NOU103, 107. Okay. Okay, let me see if I will see that question. I want to check it out. This is TMA for last semester. For those of you who are wondering how TMA looks like, this is for NOU107. I'm trying to see if the definition is on this particular one. I screenshot. The rest are not loading yet. Let's not waste time with this. Don't worry, you will see it in your own TMA too. Now, history of open and distance learning. As stated earlier, the term open and distance learning combines two distinct terms: distance education and open learning. Now, why distance education is not a new concept and thus familiar to most people, open learning is relatively a newer term. In fact, distance education can be said to be the forerunner of open and distance learning. Thus, a good starting point for the history of open and distance learning is distance education. What they are saying in essence here is that since we mentioned earlier that distance and open education is gotten from two concepts. The first one is distance education, while the other one is open learning. And we said that earlier on, we mentioned that the distance education has been in motion over a long period of time, while open learning is just a new concept. If that is the case, we can just conclude that the distance education was one that gave birth to open learning. Is that also a forerunner? That means it was after the invention of distance education that the thought of open learning was discovered. That is the old thing that this history is trying to say. Then in some way, it's saying that we cannot talk about the history of open and distance learning if we don't talk about distance education first. So let's talk about distance education. Where, when, and how did it start? Now, distance education has been defined as a field of education that focuses on teaching methods and technology with the aim of delivering teaching to students who are not physically present in a traditional educational setting. When we mention traditional educational setting in this material, what we're trying to say is your conventional setting in normal university like Uni Abuja, like Uni Jos, like Unilag, that you sit down in the hall with your lecturers like that. That is the meaning of traditional educational setting. So this particular institution you are in now is not the same with that setting. That's what they're trying to tell you. Now, such as the classroom. So it is a system aimed at creating access to learning when time or distance or both separate the source of information and the learners. So in distance education is a system of learning where time and space separate both the learner and the instructor or the teacher. So both you that you are receiving the information and the person giving the information, that is both the source and the receiver might not be in the same space and the same time. Now, though the various developmental stages of distance education have been variously demarcated to be from 3 to 5, I prefer the 3-stage development propounded by Schultz and Embry-Riddle, 2008. These names rather, there's a question they normally ask on these names, and I'm trying to remember the question. I think those who propounded the 3-stage developmental stuff. Okay, I can't really recall the way they put the question, but please, this statement, or this whole paragraph, please put it to mind. So they said that we have 3 to 5 stages. Like the stages of, that means starting from the time that distance education, maybe commenced, then over time, there have been like 5 stages. Some people have demarcated it into 5 stages, maybe the preliminary stages, the continuous stages, the so stages. So, but for this our own material, we choose the 3-stage developmental. Sorry, this 3-stage development provided by Schultz and Embry-Riddle in 2008. That is the one we are going to follow. So, what are the 3 stages according to them? So, according to the above mentioned names in 2008, the 3 stages of distance education are: number 1, let's start with correspondence stage. Now, what is this correspondence stage all about? What happened there? Or what time do we call the correspondence stage? The earliest appearance of distance education was in the form of correspondence education. This is a question in the exam. This statement, very important. The earliest appearance of education, of distance education, was in the form of correspondence education. Now, this started in the mid-19th century, another thing to put in mind. So this correspondence education, which is the earliest appearance of distance education, started in the mid-19th century in Great Britain, France, Germany, and the United States. Now, those are the 4 countries that were able to, start something like that as of then. In Britain, in France, in Germany, and the United States. Describing the correspondence phase, Schultz and Embry-Riddle 2008 states that early correspondence courses as the first recorded form of distance learning exemplified participant interaction through the distribution of printed materials through the mail. Which means when this distance education started, the only way you as the learner, the receiver, can participate is through printed materials. If I want to teach you something now, I will write it down as a book. I will print it maybe as a journal, then I will send it to you as a mail. Then you as a student, you read it to gain the knowledge. That was the method they were using then during the correspondence stage. That means I write a letter to my student containing the lecture I want to give them. Then they read the letter and probably send another letter back to me for correspondence. Now, there was a man then whose name is Isaac Pitman. Those of you that did shorthand in secondary school, you know Pitman is a man who brought about shorthand writing and the rest of them. So Sir Isaac Pitman taught shorthand by mail, and this can be said to be the first officially recognized attempt at distance education. Please, this statement is very important. They used to ask you that the first officially recognized attempt at distance education was dash. It was what? Sir Isaac Pitman's shorthand learning or so. So, and he did that through what? Through mail. Then I'm not even sure they have electronic mail that we have now, emails that we send around. It is, you write it as a letter and go and post it in the post office. Now, Pitman's correspondence courses in shorthand started in the 1840s. What makes this course somehow tough is all of this issue of having to put years and abbreviations in mind. But if you are following, you will still get them. Now, at the degree level, the University of London was the first to offer degrees through distance education. This is another important thing. Now, when we leave the level of general learning, like Pitman, you said?
Happy birthday, long life and prosperity.
Is he inside this class?
Many more years in net.
Where did you enter again? But who is talking? Go.
Where are you taking us to?
That person should meet, or you are taking it somewhere. Oh my goodness. I don't even know who the person is. I'm trying to mute.
Please, I want you to start from that Pitman shorthand, please, again. So, because the whole noise just.
Okay. So, we said that the first stage of distance education is what? The correspondence stage. That's the first thing you should put in mind. That we are studying the 3-stage development, which was propounded by Schultz and Embry-Riddle in 2008. That's what we are concerned about in this material. We have like 5 stages, but the one we are concerned about is the 3 stages. And this 3 stage, the first one is correspondence. And that correspondence stage is a stage of letter where the teacher will write a letter to the student, you understand, through mail. And the first example of such was what was done by Sir Isaac Pitman, who taught shorthand by mail in the 1840s. He taught shorthand by mail. That means he was teaching his student through mail. He's going to draw the shorthand, write the meaning, and send it to them to post office. So that is the first attempt of distance education. But that is just for the general level. But at the university level, the first university to attempt distance education was the University of London. And then it was called an external program, not part of the major program the university is running. It's an external program. It was established in 1828 in University of London, but it was not chartered until 1858. They were just basically doing like an experimental stuff then until 1858 when it was chartered. Now it is important, like network issue. Please, can you hear me now? Am I back? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
hear
We can
you
hear you, but we
slightly.
can't see your screen.
No, it's still
We
loading.
cannot see your screen. We can hear
The
you.
screen is still loading.
Okay.
So we said that University of London started an external program in 1828, but it was not chartered until 1858. And it is important to know that most of the students of the program.
Sorry. That part you said. Sorry, sir. Wait, you said the first university to attempt correspondence.
Who is sharing 1 million again?
Sorry, can you go over your question again? The network is somehow.
Okay, I was saying that the last thing I heard you said the first university to attempt correspondence learning, like it was in London, but I didn't get the year.
Okay,
That's all.
1828. Look at it on the screen. 1828, that was the year they started the program. But it was not chartered until 1858. That was when they chartered it. And also, now, as we are progressing, please digest this. The first example of distance education was that of Pittman, Isaac Pittman, teaching people in shorthand through mail in 1840s. But the first university to undergo something similar to distance education was University of London. They just started it like experiment in 1828, but it was not chartered until 1858. So it is important to know that most of the students of the program were from the British Commonwealth countries, including Nigeria. Now, in the United States, correspondence study has been a noteworthy. What's the time we have left? Okay, a noteworthy
5 minutes.
component of the University of Wisconsin delivery system since 1891. I just know you guys will not be confused about all these dates and years. So
I'm a bit confused because I don't even understand anymore. You just mentioned United States and then you jumped to 1891 and be 18.
This was what he said. This was what he said. He first talked about the first university to attempt it, which was in London at 1828. It wasn't that visible until 1858, right? Okay.
Yes.
Now, Ina said the first example of the person that was doing correspondence learning was Isaac Pittman. I was doing that through mail. Okay. That was the second thing he said. Now, the third thing, through shorthand. Yes, and the third thing he was not trying to say that I got was he said that the United States correspondence study. That means they were also practicing it in the US and Nigeria too. Do you understand? That's what he was trying to say.
You missed something there. The issue of mentioning of Nigeria was under the University of London. That is, you see that University of London's program in 1858, it was only available to countries that are in the Commonwealth, and Nigeria was also part of the Commonwealth country then. So that was how we mentioned Nigeria. But United States is on their own. They were also practicing correspondence study in the University of Wisconsin. Please, this university is very important. You have to note the name of the university. They normally ask questions on this University of Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Because I ate bread.
Is it clear now? Okay, let us match. Let us match
Yes,
it
it's
now.
clear. It's clear.
Let us match it now. Isaac Pittman, 1840. University of London, 1828 to 1858. University of Wisconsin in United States, 1891. Those are the three important things you have to note here. Why Sir Isaac Pitman's own was in 1840, that of University of London, which they call external program, started in 1858, became chartered in 1850. Sorry, started in 1828, became chartered in 1858. While the United States, their own correspondence study, which was first, practiced in University of Wisconsin.
Network, oh,
I'm
you are
hearing
just
anything.
breaking.
Network, oh.
And the time is
I think
almost,
Pitman was in 1840 now.
yes, Pittman,
Yeah, apart
1840.
from Wilcoxon delivery system since 1891, I can't hear anything,
Oh my God. So what about now? Is it better? Can you guys hear now? My network. Oh.